Okay, so at the fairly recent, I guess it is, DCW event, you were presenting, and I think the thrust of the presentation was that clearly the industry is big into sustainability, energy efficiency, and I guess the primary objective would be because they do have environmental goals to meet, whether that's voluntary or legislation, which is, round the corner if not already there. But I think you're also keen to emphasize that it's a potential big competitive advantage to be embracing these kind of things. So perhaps you could just give us that sort of high level view, and then we'll drill down a bit more into what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So the talk I did at DCW was broadly aimed at highlighting that energy isn't just a pass-through cost to the data center customer base, and sustainability isn't just an annoying compliance distraction. And really focusing on showcasing the reality that these two are critical components to achieving competitive advantage, and ultimately attracting and keeping those conscientious, sustainability focused, and most importantly, price focused customers. So yeah.
And in terms of some of the things that might involve, I think strategic energy procurement was one area where you thought there's an opportunity. So perhaps you can outline that in a bit more detail.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got one side of the puzzle is obviously the sustainability side and driving competitive advantage through investing well in renewable technologies, maybe through a power purchase agreement or something like that. The other side is your exposure to what are effectively very volatile energy markets. And so ultimately, having a buying strategy that reflects not just your risk appetite, but the risk appetite of all your customers is absolutely vital. I think we saw since 2022, the energy crisis, customers are far more switched on to price risk. And if you're a data center that can't offer them the budget certainty that they may crave, or buying options that they may need, then you might fall behind from a competitive perspective. But obviously alongside that, driving the lowest possible price or optimizing your price within a buying strategy could have material impact on your competitive advantage, on being able to offer much lower energy costs to your customers versus the competitors. And I mean, we saw that recently at a data center over one of our customers over the energy crisis. We managed to save them over £40 million, and we know that made a big difference for some of their customers in terms of renewing and driving that confidence in the data center and renewing their contract with the data center. So there's a tangible link there between the actual energy costs that these customers are paying and their retention of those customers.
Yeah, and with savings like that potentially out there,
that's really helped. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, that just goes to show how volatile the energy market has been, and obviously in this industry, and we deal with the smaller boutique data centers up to the big hyperscale, and in this industry, there's huge opportunity to buy well, and there's huge risk obviously out there as well in terms of not buying well, and so that's why we really champion it as one of the main driving forces for all our customers in terms of that competitive advantage.
Yeah, and another area where potentially folks can position themselves as leaders within the data center market comes to use of innovative, sustainable technology. I guess the rider is there that sometimes customers are perhaps averse to risk, and they might think that some of these innovations are risky, but as long as they get they're comfortable with that, I suppose, or they can be reassured that they're not actually that risky, then say innovation is a big sort of customer winner as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I think we're seeing it more and more now. So when you look at sustainability, there's obviously a huge spectrum of opportunity for a data center. And a lot of it may happen kind of behind the scenes with, like I mentioned before, big power purchase agreements for offshore wind, which may not be seen by customers at all, or it may not be seen if it is seen, it may not be seen as that innovative. So we're seeing as the market grows in its competitive nature, we're seeing the big market leaders move forward with much more innovative solutions. And an example of that might be some of the heat recovery solutions that are engaging local communities, swimming pools. I think we saw Google and other big hyperscale data centers invest heavily in these more sort of front end solutions that are much more in the public eye, and that's a very powerful PR message, and that's ultimately again going to reinforce that sort of competitive opportunity within the market.
And another one that's, I don't know how tangible it is or not, but in terms of meeting their sustainability expectations is important. So is that the expectations that they have sort of placed on themselves by their reporting and objectives, or is it just the expectations customers have that if a company's talking a good game about sustainability, they're expecting them to sort of back it up with practical actions?
Very much differs from data centers to data center. Customers are increasing their expectation of what a data center will offer. But also across our customer base of data centers, we see some very, very passionate and driven sustainability and procurement managers that are ultimately looking to get ahead of the curve. So it is that internal pressure on themselves as much as it is the expectation of customers. But also on that note, there is the growing impact of what's around the corner, the sort of legislation regulation that's coming. So when we talk about driving commercial competitive advantage now, we try and do that through return on investments and showcasing the financial benefits and the financial gains of investing in sustainability. But it won't be long until that sort of day of reckoning when legislation is launched that is so tight that we'll see a big division between those customers that have been proactive now and those ones who've sort of been a bit slower to the party and will get caught out by some of the compliance initiatives that are required of them, and we'll see them scrabbling around and find it very difficult. So yeah, there's a lot of growing pressure across the industry, I'd say, both within data centers and from customers.
Yeah, I was going to ask, I mean, where the industry, I know there clearly are a whole spectrum, I guess, of companies and different attitudes, but in terms of where the industry as a whole is on the journey, and at this moment in time, is it already becoming obvious which companies are, as you said, proactive and embracing sustainability and energy efficiency, and those that are, if not dragging their heels, certainly not, shouting from the rooftops that this is, one of their major objectives?
So the industry as a whole is definitely pioneering. So we manage with industry agnostic essentially in our customer base, although we do obviously have a large number of data center clients. But comparatively to other sectors, data centers are, I would say, pioneering. And I mean, it's not, yeah, it's not difficult to understand why. The eyes of the world are on them. They're open to public scrutiny. They're very, very energy intensive. There's a lot of potential negative press out there around their energy consumption, and so they have to be at the forefront. And I do believe they are comparative to other industries.
Obviously, as an industry, they're ahead of the curve, but within the industry,
sorry, yes,
I guess you've got people that are moving ahead at a faster pace than others.
You absolutely do, and this isn't necessarily linked to the size of the data center. You might assume that the big hyperscale data centers are a long way ahead of the smaller ones. It's not necessarily the case. We see a big mix. But what this does mean ultimately is the sort of point of entry for sustainability is that much higher than perhaps other industries. So you can't just get away with buying some Rego back power or anything like that these days. You've got to be fronting that big sustainability drive and strategy. So there is a lot more pressure within the industry, absolutely, and that benchmark for differentiating yourself is always, it's just going to get harder and harder and harder.
Yeah, because I'm going to ask, I mean, is there at some stage, particularly with the legislation coming in, so companies will, I guess they'll have some, length of time to make sure they're adhering to the legislation. But will it plateau over time because everyone has to sign up to whether it's the European Energy Efficiency Directive, etc., or will there always, do you think, be that opportunity to go further and faster than what maybe the lawmakers are requiring and still keeping that competitive advantage?
So I think this will be an industry that will continue to push further than any regulation. I think again that sort of competitive opportunity is going to drive innovation and change. And I think there may be the marginal gains may get smaller and smaller, but ultimately there's always going to be a broad spectrum of opportunities for sites and data centers to employ different measures, sustainability measures, and the cost of energy is always going to be the key differentiator. Well, the cost of energy and the amount of carbon you're consuming. But if we just focus on the cost of energy, there's always going to be a strategy around how you buy that power purchase agreement, the strategy around what cost that private wire waste to energy plant that's sat next to your data center is exporting its power to you at. There is going to be always that competitive drive to get the lowest cost of energy, and that's going to keep pushing data centers to be more innovative and for them to embrace different sustainability measures.
So in terms of I say most data centers, I'm sure, if not all, have got some kind of, well, at least they would say they've got some kind of strategy plan to embrace sustainability, energy efficiency, but it's either not working for them, or maybe they think, it's best to have another go because, it's constantly moving target, I suppose. Any thoughts as to what they need to consider to devise and implement? And I'm sure it's not necessarily that easy, because if it was, everyone would do it. But what does a successful strategy look like, if it's possible to define it?
Well, the key thing I'd start on here is consider everything. And there's a continuing change of technology and innovation out there. And what's right today may not be right in the next 2 to 3 years. The changing energy prices, the commodity markets are gonna make some technologies more attractive or less attractive, dependent on the cost of the input fuels, etc. So the ultimate message is to be open to everything, and that's what we push at Open Energy Market through our product True, which allows users to assess and analyze and verify different potential projects for their business to embark on their journey towards net zero, with all of these variable inputs around consumption and energy prices coming in all the time. So it's a dynamic strategy, and they've got to embrace that element that it is dynamic. One of the key things that key pieces of advice that I would say is measure everything. So when you infrastructure wise within the data center, the ones that are really pioneering are the ones that have the granular knowledge of all that's going on within the center, the PUE at any given level, and it's just a case of make sure you measure everything and have more meters than you can possibly need, because I think that's going to be vital to properly understanding your usage, and your sustainability strategy will be built from that level of data.
And in terms of what you're seeing, would you say that at the moment it would only be a minority of companies that are taking such a dynamic? I mean, not through any particular knowledge, but I'd say, sort of anecdotally talking to people, get the impression that someone sort of writes a strategy and everyone goes, yeah, that's great. It kind of gets filed away and that's it, and maybe not reviewed in the way that you're saying it needs to be. Is that a fair characterization, or a lot of people already?
It is, and that's what we're trying to change. So there are many very credible ESG consultants out there, very credible the businesses offering that sustainability strategy process, which will ultimately result in a big report that does get filed away. And the whole purpose of what we do and True is turning all that ambition into action. So like I say, we're constantly analyzing the financial viability or the financial returns of any project, given all the external variables that go into the ultimate success of that project, and presenting it in a very dynamic way through our platform, so that you can obviously keep adding and building to the sustainability strategy, but you can see those projects which suddenly become viable and are within the 2-year return on investment goal or the 5-year return on investment goal. So yeah.
And I suppose it maybe finally for end users, so people that are looking to engage with a data center that is, you know, demonstrably sustainable, energy efficient, how easy is it at the moment, and how easy do you think it should become for them to, because I'm sure you knock on the door and is your data center sustainable? Yes, it is. I'm sure they get all the right answers. So how easy is it to sort of find out beyond the brochures and you know, the easy chat that a data center is actually, you know, walking the walk as opposed to talking the talk when it comes to these kind of issues?
So honestly, at the moment, it's not easy enough. I think it should be much easier for any customer of any business to properly understand the action rather than the perhaps the loose promises. And it's very difficult as well to take a sort of helicopter view over particular sites and so on, because there are some data centers, for example, we work with data centers who have inherited some legacy sites, and they're a real challenge to bring up to the new world, the new sustainable world of energy efficiency. And they may be investing hugely in that, but from a helicopter view, you may not see that. Whereas a new build, a new shiny new development may look that much more sustainable. So it's a case of not necessarily judging by what you can see. It's about judging the actions, and unfortunately at the moment there just isn't enough visibility of that, which is again one of the things that we're trying to change with True. And one of the big things on our roadmap is incorporating accreditation or a standard which can drive confidence for customers to see what the various companies are actually doing and where they are, how much they've invested in sustainability versus the amount of carbon that they are consuming any given time. So you may not have the results. A lot of some of the sustainability measures that people are looking at investing in may be very long-term power purchase agreements with offshore wind farms. Now they may not start until 2027, 2028. So it's not an instant gratification. It's not, net zero is not an instant result. So it's not black and white in terms of we've suddenly done this. It's showcasing the amount you're investing on an annual basis into sustainability and what the ultimate goal is going to be based on that investment. And that's really important, and one of the things we are championing. And like I say, in our roadmap, we're building out a standard or accreditation that will support that, so that businesses can proudly showcase where they are on their journey through our True metric.
Yeah, so I know PUE been around donkey's years, and everyone says it's a, you know, depending on their point of view, it's a great metric or it's a, you know, vastly abused metric. So do you think it's time that the industry kind of moves beyond that, which is, as I say, is shall we say manipulatable? I don't even know if that's a word, to something that's a bit more fixed, so that, you know, if you know someone's got this accreditation, you actually do know what they're doing, as opposed to I think it is it the most efficient data center one is one that's just been built that's empty or something. I can't remember.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
Sort of things. So, the actual truth as opposed to the trickery is that important?
Yeah, because PUE doesn't necessarily capture the unused capacity at the site. So if for example you have bought in a massive amount of availability, but you're only using 10% of the site, you can still make make your PUE look very, very attractive, but actually there's a huge capacity payment that you're paying on a monthly basis. I won't get too much into the granular level of that, but PUE is I mean, again, compared to other industries that don't have PUE, PUE is, at least it is a metric that is well known, like you say. It potentially can be manipulated, but it is solely around the energy efficiency of a site. So we need something similar that reflects the ultimate sustainability goals rather than just the energy efficiency, which I'm not downgrading at all or anything like that. I think the energy efficiency is a vital component to it, but we need something that reflects the ultimate company's carbon footprint and like I say, their strategy towards net zero or implementing sustainability measures. That can't be manipulated, and you know, again, that's something that we're trying to bring into the market.
And I suppose just finally, are you optimistic that everything is the direction of travel is the right one at the right pace, or do you not exactly worry, but just observe that the industry could be going a bit further and faster? Or just your thoughts, I suppose.
I think I am optimistic. Yeah, it would be very easy for me to criticize because everyone wants everything as soon as possible. But you know, data centers are pioneering. There's a lot of very, very interesting stuff that's happening, especially like I've mentioned before, the hyperscale data centers are driving innovation. They're driving change. I did say the eyes of the world are on the data center industry, and I think there's been a huge amount of ambition there. We need to see that turn into action and results, and looking forward to seeing how it goes. But in terms of comparing once again data centers to other areas of industry, manufacturing, retail, etc., they really, yeah, I am much more optimistic about their attitude towards sustainability and their attitude towards net zero, and what they're actually hoping to try and achieve. And I think I'm very excited about seeing how it all outturns.
Excellent. It's been lovely to chat. Some brilliant insights into what's going on. Food for thought. So, Chris, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you very much.